Hello and welcome to Current News. My name is Neel. In this special segment, we will discuss news which is important from the perspective of your exam. The bulletin of the last whole week which might echo in the question paper in the exam hall. So let us first look at the headlines. The Supreme Court makes strict observations on promising freebies before elections, seeks reply from Election Commission of India and the central government. The observation emphasizes on cancellation of registration and confiscation of election symbol. Sri Lankan Tamil MPs send a letter regarding the Tamil issue to PM Shri Narendra Modi. The letter emphasizes on getting the 13th Amendment implemented. The amendment was made after the 1987 India-Sri Lanka Peace Accord. Human Rights Commission issues notice to the Ministry of Home Affairs over the Chakma community's rights, order given to issue reports on racial profiling. The Commission to keep an eye on the protection of communities' rights. Supreme Court's landmark decision on right to ancestral property, daughters to have equal rights over property in absence of a will, daughters to be prioritized over other relatives. And government issues vision document for promoting electronics manufacturing sector, manufacturing target of $300 billion by 2026, plan to make India a major part of electronics global value chain. Let us begin with news of the week. The Supreme Court, while hearing a petition, has issued notice to the central government and the Election Commission of India. The court has said that instructions should be issued to confiscate the election symbols and cancel the registrations of all political parties that provide freebies or make any such promise to voters before elections. A division bench headed by Chief Justice N.V. Ramana has sought a reply in the matter after 4 weeks. It was submitted in the petition that free and non-discriminatory voting system is negatively affected by political parties providing freebies from public funds or making such promises. To do so is just like bribing voters in a way. It was stressed upon in the petition that after the Supreme Court's decision in the Subramaniam Balaji case in 2013, the directions issued by the election commissions regarding freebies had no major effect as such. In that case as well, the political parties were accused of influencing the voter with freebies. It is worthy to note that in the Subramaniam Balaji case, the Supreme Court held that the inclusion of freebies by political parties in their election manifestos is not a corrupt practice or an electoral offence under the Representation of People Act. Similarly, in the hearing of this recent petition, the court has said that such acts cannot be termed as corrupt practice because they do not cause harm to healthy electoral competition in some or the other way. It has also been demanded in the petition that a condition should be added in the Election Symbols Reservation and Allotment Order 1968 that before election no political party should give freebies or make any such promise that is to be fulfilled from the public funds. It should be noted that this order gives the Election Commission of India the power to recognize political parties and allot symbols. The Attorney General has given consent to initiate contempt proceedings for objectionable statements made against the Supreme Court by the Haridwar hate speech case accused recently. In this context, it is important to know the reason behind requiring the Attorney General consent to initiate contempt proceedings. As per Section 15 of the Contempt of Courts Act 1971, the Attorney General or Solicitor General in the case of Supreme Court and the Advocate General in the case of High Courts can move a motion before the court to initiate a case of criminal contempt. However, if a motion for contempt of court is moved by another person, then the written consent of Attorney General or the Advocate General is mandatory. The purpose of obtaining the Attorney General's consent is to save the court's time so that the court does not have to waste its time in verifying the validity of all the petitions. Besides, it is aimed at allowing the Attorney General to independently investigate the contempt cases. It is noteworthy that the Attorney General consent is not required in all the cases. When the Supreme Court, in exercise of its inherent power under Article 129, takes suo motu cognizance in a contempt of court case, then the Attorney General's consent is not required. According to Article 129, the Supreme Court shall be a court of record and shall have the power to award punishment for its own contempt. For your information, Article 129 and Article 215 confer power upon the Supreme Court and the High Courts respectively to award punishment for its own contempt. Therefore, even if Attorney General disagrees on contempt proceedings, the complainant can request the court to take suo motu cognizance of the matter. Tamil MPs of Sri Lanka have sent a letter to Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi for a political resolution to the Tamil issue. In the letter, a request has been made for India's intervention in getting the 13th Amendment implemented in Sri Lanka. At a time when India has announced an aid to Sri Lanka to help it tide over its economic crisis about a week ago, then in this background, the letter is being considered especially significant. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution of Sri Lanka was carried out under the Indo-Sri Lanka Peace Accord in 1987. The accord was signed between the then President of Sri Lanka, J.R. Jayawardene, and the then Prime Minister of India, Rajiv Gandhi, to end the ongoing civil war in Sri Lanka. The main reason behind this civil war was unmet demand for equal rights by the minority Tamil community in Sri Lanka. Two important points were mentioned in the accord. First, by the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lankan government will take steps to give the Tamil community a share in power. Secondly, both the sides, LTTE or Tamil rebels and the Sri Lankan army, will retreat. However, the accord failed to stop the civil war, which then continued for several years. The civil war formally ended in 2009, but the Tamil community has always complained that the 13th Amendment has still not been implemented properly. The letter sent by Tamil MPs is also crucial because India has announced a loan of $900 million and a line of credit of $500 million recently in view of ongoing crisis in Sri Lanka. Foreign affairs experts are associating India's move with the ongoing geopolitics in South Asia, in which India wants to curb China's increasing influence in its neighboring countries. India has raised questions on the functioning of United Nations organization due to the delay in drafting a comprehensive convention against global terrorism. In a meeting of United Nations General Assembly, India has expressed concerns and stated that the member nations of the United Nations have yet not been able to agree on a common definition of terrorism. In addition, the organization has not been able to formulate any coordinated policy to deal with global terrorism and eliminate its network. Reflecting on the report related to functioning of the United Nations, India stated that the world is facing the most horrific crisis today as the issue of terrorism has not been tackled seriously. In addition, the groups whose protection is provided for in the United Nations Charter are also beginning to doubt the organization's relevance. India suggested that the effectiveness and relevance of an organization lies in its ability to transform itself with the changing times. On this occasion, India also assured that it has always welcomed the United Nations Secretary General's initiative taken for the organization's modernization and reformation, and it will continue to contribute in future initiatives too. For the past several years, the member countries of this global body have been trying to classify terrorism into various categories such as racially or ethnically motivated violent extremism, violent nationalism, and right-wing extremism, etc. Expressing concern on this issue, India has stated that terrorism in all its forms and manifestations should be condemned and no act of terrorism should be justified. In fact, India had proposed the draft of Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism to the United Nations in 1986, but it has not yet been implemented because the organization's member states are not unanimous on the definition of terrorism. The proposal seeks at agreeing on a universal definition of terrorism and prosecuting terrorists under special laws. NHRC, that is the National Human Rights Commission, has recently issued some instructions to the Ministry of Home Affairs and the state government of Arunachal Pradesh. These directions are related to relocation or shifting of Chakma and Hajong communities from the state and submission of report regarding the action taken against racial profiling. The Commission has given both the parties the time of 6 weeks to submit their reports. At the same time, both of them have also been instructed to ensure protection of human rights of Chakma and Hajong communities of the state. It should be noted that these directions by NHRC have been issued after a complaint was lodged in the Commission by the Chakma Development Foundation of India, New Delhi. The foundation had sought the intervention of NHRC against the racial profiling of 65,000 Chakma and Hajong tribal people of Arunachal Pradesh. Let us tell you that this racial profiling was to be conducted through an illegal census which was proposed to begin from 11 December 2021. These communities were to be deported, expelled, or relocated from the state on the basis of the census. In addition to this, the complaint made by the foundation to the Commission also mentioned an announcement made by Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Pema Khandu on August 15, 2021. It talked about transferring Chakma and Hajong communities out of the state. The foundation considers this proposed census for both these communities as a step towards the enactment of the promise made in the announcement. Let us also tell you that Chakma and Hajong refugees were originally residents of Chittagong hill tracts of erstwhile East Pakistan. Displaced from there, the Buddhist Chakmas and Hindu Hajongs settled in Arunachal Pradesh in the 1960s. The Supreme Court in January 1996 declared the Chakmas and Hajongs citizens of India and also directed the central and state governments to process their citizenship applications. Today, out of approximately 65,000 people belonging to these two communities, 60,500 citizens are citizens by birth, while citizenship applications of 4,000 migrants are yet to be processed. Recently, the Supreme Court has made an important decision concerning the right to ancestral property. The court has held that if a Hindu man passes away without writing his will, then his daughters will also be entitled to get the share in the self-acquired and ancestral property of their father. In the absence of any blood relatives, his daughters will get precedence in the inheritance of properties over their other relatives. It is worthy to note that decision of a two-judge bench of Supreme Court has come on an appeal filed against decision given by Madras High Court. This decision of Madras High Court was related to division of property of a person belonging to Tamil Nadu. As a matter of fact, this person died in 1949 and had left no will for his self-acquired as well as ancestral property. The Madras High Court had given rights over this property to his brother's son as he lived in a joint family. Now, the Supreme Court has ruled in the favor of that man's only daughter. The Supreme Court also submitted that if a Hindu woman dies without any heir, the property inherited from her father or mother will then be given to her father's successors, while on the other hand, the property received from her husband or father-in-law will go to the successors of her father-in-law. Along with this, daughters will also have equal rights on the properties belonging to the time before the implementation of Hindu Succession Act of 1956. Earlier in the year 2020, the Supreme Court in its decision considered the right of Hindu women to be successors of an ancestral property at par with men. The court said that right of a Hindu woman to be a joint successor in an ancestral property is a right by birth and it does not rely on whether her father is alive or not. Let us also tell you that the heir and succession of property among Hindus is managed under Hindu Succession Act 1956. This applies to all of those who are not Muslims, Christians, Parsis or Jews by religion. This act was amended in September 2005 and women were given equal rights in matter of division of property. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has recently released a document named as $300 billion Sustainable Electronics Manufacturing and Exports by 2026 Vision. It has been designed to increase India's electronics manufacturing from $75 billion in the next 5 years to $300 billion by 2026 in dollars. The target is expected to increase electronics export from $15 billion at present to $120 billion and the domestic electronics market from $65 billion to $180 billion. The vision documents look forward to make India an integral part of the global value chain of electronics by year 2026. It is worthy to note that not very long ago, government had come up with a production-linked incentive scheme to increase electronics manufacturing. In that scheme, $10 billion were earmarked for the semiconductor and display ecosystem alone. Talking about the present situation, the electronic system design and manufacturing sector contributes about 2.7% to India's GDP. Considering the importance of this sector, the government has also allowed for 100% FDI in the electronics sector through the automatic route. SEBI has amended the listing obligations and disclosure requirements regulations for making appointments in certain listed companies recently. As per the amendments, if a person fails to get selected as a director at a general meeting of shareholders, the board of directors shall keep 2 points in mind before appointing or reappointing such a person as managing director or whole-time director or manager. Firstly, the company's board of directors and the nomination and remuneration committee must provide detailed explanation and justification before appointing or reappointing such a person. Secondly, such an appointment shall be made only after prior approval of the shareholders. For your information, the shareholders select the board of directors to manage the company under the Companies Act 2013. However, as per the Companies Act 2013, if the board of directors feels that a new director is required due to increased workload and it is not possible to hold a general meeting of shareholders, then in such a situation, the board of directors may appoint a new director as an additional director. Later on, the shareholders in its general meeting can regularize the appointed additional director as a director. Experts were of the view that such appointments made by the board of directors were against the shareholders' will as well as the corporate governance spirit. The strict reforms done by SEBI seek to empower the shareholders who have been conferred powers by law to approve appointment of directors on a company's board of directors. The Global Research on Antimicrobial Resistance Report or GRAM report has been published in the Lancet journal recently. In the report, worldwide deaths caused by antimicrobial resistance has been assessed. The report has been published under the leadership of Oxford University Big Data Institute and Institute of Health Metrics, that is IHME. According to the report, the number of deaths due to antimicrobial resistance at present is more than the number of deaths due to HIV and malaria. The report mentions that 12.7 lakh deaths were directly related to antimicrobial resistance in 2019. At the same time, the report also states that death of 49.5 lakhs people were indirectly related to antimicrobial resistance. The report also mentions 6 major antimicrobial resistance pathogens which caused the deaths. Antimicrobial resistance is a condition in which pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, fungi, etc. become resistant to antimicrobial drugs such as antibiotics, antifungals, etc. Due to antimicrobial resistance, the effect of antimicrobials become less or null in case of bacterial or viral infections. The World Health Organization has classified 7 such resistance pathogens as priority pathogens. The causes of antimicrobial resistance include misuse of antibiotics, uncontrolled use of antibiotics in animal husbandry, unscientific dumping of pharmaceutical waste in the environment, etc. In view of the issue's seriousness, the WHO has listed antimicrobial resistance in the list of 10 global public health threats, and it has also started GLASS, that is Global Antimicrobial Resistance and Use Surveillance System. In India, the Red Line campaign is being run by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Under this initiative, antibiotics are marked with a red line in order to create awareness. At the same time, National Action Plan on Antimicrobial Resistance or AMR has also been launched to keep antimicrobial resistance under control. In addition, AMR Surveillance and Research Network has also been introduced by the ICMR. The trend of wearable gadgets, that is the devices worn on body which are manufactured using small quantities of radioactive elements, has increased in recent years. The manufacturers of wearable gadgets claim that these gadgets benefit the user's health. For example, some time ago, Europeans started wearing anti-5G pendants to safeguard themselves from radio frequencies emitted by mobile phones and 5G. Besides, wearable gadgets also include quantum pendants, negative ion jewelry items, sleep masks, etc. However, the claims made regarding wearable gadgets benefiting the user's health are not yet scientifically proven, but studies suggest that long-term exposure to such radioactive elements, although in small quantities, can be extremely harmful for a person's health. In view of this, Nuclear Safety and Radiation Protection Authority of Netherlands has recently cautioned against the use of certain gadgets such as the quantum pendants, anti-5G pendants or negative ion jewelry items that are exposing users to unnecessary radiation. In some other surveys, it has been found that fabrics that contain small amounts of radioactive elements such as monazite or zircon, which are known to contain traces of uranium and thorium, are being used by the people. Studies suggest that some radioactive pendants can expose the user to a radiation as high as 2.8 millisievert or MSV per annum. On the other hand, the amount of radiation in chest X-ray is just 0.1 millisievert. For your information, sievert is the standard unit of measuring ionizing radiation, and it measures the effect of radiation on tissues. International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA) has also fixed standards for safety from radiation in view of the threats and safety related issues associated with NORM, that is, naturally occurring radioactive substance. In fact, in many studies it has been found that the amount of radiation from such gadgets is higher than the standards fixed by IAEA. India has also issued the Atomic Energy Radiation Protection Rules 2004 in this regard, and these rules are as per the provisions of the IAEA. Presently, due to rapid increase in the production of electric vehicles, the demand for lithium metal is continuously increasing throughout the world. As lithium metal is used as a raw material in manufacture of lithium-ion batteries used in these electric vehicles, there is a worldwide shortage in the supply of lithium. Due to this reason, many Western countries have also begun searching for new mines to compete with China. Let us inform you that recently the government of Serbia has cancelled the license of an Anglo-Australian mining company, Rio Tinto plc's lithium project. With this, the supply crisis seems to deepen in the near future. Also, due to ever-increasing demand from Chinese battery makers, the prices of lithium carbonate have also reached their record levels in the previous 1 year. Allkem, one of the world's top 10 lithium production companies, estimates that its price will go around 15 lakh per ton in future. According to a survey conducted by Australia's Department of Industries, the total global production of lithium carbonate in 2021 was 4.85 lakh tons. It was estimated to increase to 6.15 lakh tons in 2022 and 8.21 lakh tons in 2023. But the credit analysts of Swiss agency believe that the production of lithium carbonate can remain at 5.88 lakh tons in 2022 and 7.36 lakh ton in 2023. Basically, this suggests that the global supply of lithium may be affected due to decrease in the production of lithium in the future. It is important to mention that at present lithium metal is extracted from hard rock or salt mines. Australia is the world's largest supplier in terms of lithium produced from hard rock mines, while countries such as Argentina, Chile and China are producing this metal from salt lakes. The Greenbush lithium mine in Western Australia is the largest hard rock lithium mine in the world. The annual production here can go up to 1.34 million tons. Significantly, lithium-ion battery is a type of rechargeable battery. They are used in electronic equipment, telecommunication, aerospace, industrial applications, etc. Presently, these lithium-ion batteries have become the preferred energy source for electric and hybrid electric vehicles. Let us now look at the 5 questions based on the bulletin.
Questions for this series are: first question is, consider the following statements. 1. Attorney General's consent is required for filing petition in all the contempt cases related to the Supreme Court. 2. In the contempt cases related to the Supreme Court, the Attorney General has been conferred such powers as he is the highest law officer of India. Which of the above statement or statements is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2. Next question is, prominently in the news, the Chakma and Hajong tribes belong to which region of India? South India, Northeast India, Northwest India, or North India? Next question is, consider the following statements. 1. The IAEA has fixed certain standards in view of the threats and safety related issues associated with naturally occurring radioactive substances. 2. India has also drafted its own rules in this regard. Which of the above statement or statements is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2. Next question is, which of the following statement is not correct regarding the recently released new vision document for the electronics manufacturing sector? A. The document has been released by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. B. Under this vision document, the country's electronics manufacturing is to be worth $200 billion by 2030. C. Target has been set to increase electronics exports to $120 billion. Or D. It aims at making India a crucial part of the electronics global value chain by 2026. Last question is, what is Escherichia coli? Antimicrobial resistance, pesticide, fertilizer, or disease resistant?
So for the time being, that's all in this bulletin. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe Drishti IS Hindi, English and PCS YouTube channels. In the end, let us have a look at few more events of the last week in other news.
Recently, Transparency International has released its Corruption Perception Index report. India has been ranked 85th among 180 countries in the report. As per the report, especially India's condition is worrisome. India's score has remained stable over the past decade, but some mechanisms responsible for stopping corruption in the country is weakening. The report mentions that India's democratic condition is worrisome, as the balance between fundamental freedoms and institutional checks and balances is deteriorating. A scale of 0 to 100 is used to rank a country in the Corruption Perception Index. In the index, 0 score means extremely corrupt country, while 100 score means extremely honest country. India has been awarded a score of 40 in the index. In the latest Great Nicobar Environmental Impact Assessment Draft Report, serious questions have been raised on the mega development projects related to the island's development. The draft report mentions that the project related false and insufficient data and wrong scientific information has been provided and due process has not been followed in the project. The matter pertains to the 72,000 crore rupees integrated project being implemented by NITI Aayog in Great Nicobar. The project includes constructing a mega port, an airport complex, a township as well as a solar and gas-based power plant. Great Nicobar Island is the southernmost island of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, an Indian Union territory. Researchers from Kerala have identified 2 new species of fungus which are responsible for the coconut trunks rotting. Both these species belong to the Ganoderma genus, and these species have been named Ganoderma kerlans and G. pseudoplanetum respectively. The research has been published in the Mycology journal. The fungal disease is commonly known as basal stem root. In coconut trees, the disease infections start from the roots, and in the end the stems rot, and as a result plant dies. The disease will have an adverse effect on coconut farming, and it can greatly affect a coconut producing country like India. After receiving complaints from domestic industries, India has initiated an anti-dumping probes on certain types of tiles being imported from China, Taiwan and Vietnam. The complaint has been made about the dumping of vinyl tiles which are used as floor coverings in residential and commercial buildings. The investigation is being conducted by the Directorate General of Trade Remedies, that is DGTR, a branch of the Ministry of Commerce. If it is established that the dumping has caused physical loss to the domestic industries, then the DGTR will recommend anti-dumping duty on importing such tiles. Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted the first India Central Asia Summit. The heads of 5 Central Asian countries, namely Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Kyrgyzstan, attended the virtual summit. During the summit, Prime Minister Modi described Afghanistan's situation as an issue of concern for regional security between India and Central Asia. It is the first of its kind of engagement at the top leadership level between India and Central Asian countries. The summit has been described by the Ministry of External Affairs as part of the policy of Extended Neighbourhood of India. The Central Vigilance Commission, that is CVC, has once again amended the criteria for nominating independent external monitors, that is IEMs, in government bodies. The CVC had issued a revised standard operating procedure for adoption and implementation of the Integrity Pact clause, which aims at preventing corruption in public procurement. The Integrity Pact envisages an agreement between potential sellers or bidders and buyers. It mandates the persons and officers of both the parties for not resorting to corrupt practices in any aspect or stage of the contract. In case of any violation, the bidders are liable to be disqualified and debarred from future business dealings. Union Minister of Agriculture Shri Narendra Singh Tomar addressed the 4th National Conference on Agriculture for the summer campaign 2021-22. He stated that the summer crops not only provide additional income to the farmers but also provide employment opportunities during the gap period in harvesting Rabi and Kharif crops. Besides, the government is implementing various programs for the cultivation of summer crops like pulses, coarse cereals, nutritious cereals and oil seeds. As per the Minister of Agriculture, the area under the cultivation of Zayat crops including rice has been increased by 2.7 times from 29.71 lakh hectares in 2017-18 to 80.46 lakh hectares in 2020-21.